The moment Alex Eala's name appears on the schedule, New York transforms. Tickets vanish within minutes. Prices triple overnight. And when she steps onto the court, Arthur Ashe Stadium pulses with the roar of 24,000 fans, turning the world's biggest tennis venue into a celebration of Filipino pride. The moment the gates opened at the U.S. Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, the flood of fans began. Not for the world number one, not for the defending champion, but for a 21-year-old from Manila who has turned the biggest tennis tournament in the world into a celebration of Filipino pride. The U.S. Open had never seen anything quite like it. Armstrong Stadium drew a packed crowd for the mixed doubles debut of Alex Eala and Felix Auger-Aliassime, with thousands of Filipino fans filling the stands and waving Philippine flags. The roar that greeted them as they entered the court was a preview of what the Eala Effect had brought to New York. The numbers told a staggering story. Opening day grounds passes on secondary resale markets had soared past $300, nearly 10 times the face value. The average price for the 2026 U.S. Open had reached approximately $311 by mid-August, compared with about $262 at the same point in 2025. The tournament drove 78,000 fans to the open grounds on a single day and sold out the nearly 24,000-seat Arthur Ashe Stadium on both nights. More than 2 million fans visited the Open's mobile app and website, and its YouTube channel set a single-day record with 12.8 million views. And at the center of it all was Alex Eala. She had arrived in New York with a simple message, "Coming for you NY." The 21-year-old Filipina, now ranked No. 18 in the WTA Live rankings, was projected to be seeded in the singles main draw, a position that would make her the highest-seeded Filipino player in U.S. Open history. The withdrawal of World No. 15 Victoria Mboko had pushed her even higher, with analysts projecting her as high as the number 17 seed. The Eala Effect had officially arrived in New York with full force. The same phenomenon that had transformed Washington's ticket inquiries to 80%, forced Toronto to add chicken adobo to its menu, and sent Cincinnati's ticket prices soaring by $160 per seat, had now packed Armstrong Stadium to near capacity. The 24,000 fans who rushed to witness the mixed doubles debut weren't just there for tennis. They were there for a movement. When Felix Auger-Aliassime agreed to partner with Alex Eala in the U.S. Open mixed doubles, the Canadian world number 4 knew he was signing up for something unique. What he didn't fully anticipate was just how different the experience would be. Standing on the same court as the Filipina phenomenon who has turned stadiums across North America into celebrations of Filipino pride. It's a great opportunity to kind of feel what it's like to have that Eala Effect and her fan base behind me, Auger-Aliassime told Tennis Channel. The 26-year-old ace, a 2-time U.S. Open semifinalist, was already bracing for the reality of playing alongside a player whose popularity has outpaced even some of the biggest names in the sport. "It's kind of funny because she's younger than me, but I feel like she has the fan base and she's carrying the crowd," he said with a laugh. So it's going to be interesting. The partnership came together through their shared agency. We have the same agency, and then people in our teams kind of talked and made the partnership happen, Auger-Aliassime explained. Both players share ties to the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, where Eala spent much of her formative development. The Eala Effect had become one of the most talked about phenomena in tennis. From Washington to Toronto to Cincinnati, Eala had packed venues in every city she visited, drawing an entirely different demographic to the tennis world. In Toronto, she filled Sobeys Stadium to the rafters every match, with superfans even dressing as Raptors as a nod to the city's NBA team. "I am eternally grateful. Maraming salamat, mga kababayan. Mahal ko kayong lahat," Eala said then, making it clear that home is not the place but the Filipino people. "There are moments where it's heavy. There are moments where it's fun," Eala said, when asked of how she deals with her fame and her packed tour schedule. "But at the end of the day, I am also aware that it's a crazy experience, you know, so I'm just trying to take it all in." The Eala Effect had officially arrived in New York. The same phenomenon that had sold out stadiums in Toronto and sent ticket prices soaring in Cincinnati had now transformed the U.S. Open into a showcase of Filipino pride. Auger-Aliassime was about to experience it firsthand, and the tennis world was watching. When Eala and Auger-Aliassime walked onto Louis Armstrong Stadium, the roar that greeted them confirmed everything the Canadian had expected. The Eala Effect had arrived in New York, and it was carrying the crowd. The roar of the crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium is one thing. The roar of the cash register is something else entirely. And when the numbers behind the Eala Effect started rolling in, New York was left speechless. The resale market exploded. Opening day grounds passes on secondary resale markets had soared past $300, nearly 10 times the face value. Premium center court resale listings for the men's final had surpassed $21,000. The average price for the 2026 U.S. Open had reached approximately $311 by mid-August, compared with about $262 at the same point in 2025. The demand was so intense that fans reported seeing more than 400,000 people waiting online for tickets to the men's singles final, even though Arthur Ashe Stadium can hold only 23,000 fans. But the Eala Effect was driving a surge of its own. The tournament drove 78,000 fans to the open grounds on a single day and sold out the nearly 24,000-seat Arthur Ashe Stadium on both nights. More than 2 million fans visited the Open's mobile app and website, and its YouTube channel set a single-day record with 12.8 million views. The merchandise sellout was the clearest sign yet. Nike's $42 signature Eala shirt sold out within minutes of its release. According to tennis and fashion writer Jessica Schiffer, the black cotton tee vanished from shelves while merchandise from Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Aryna Sabalenka remained readily available. Yes, it sold out, but they may restock, Schiffer confirmed. I have my own shirt, you know what to do! Eala had written on her Instagram stories, and her fans certainly did. The economic impact extended far beyond ticket and merchandise sales. The Filipino diaspora that had transformed tournaments from Washington to Toronto to New York had turned the U.S. Open into a celebration of national pride. Philippine flags now filled the stands wherever Eala played. The chants of, "Let's go, Alex," echoed through stadiums from Melbourne to New York. Former world no. Greg Rosetsky captured the financial reality of Eala's popularity when he predicted that she will sell out crowds like she did in Toronto at the U.S. Open. He noted that Eala's games bring a level of atmosphere that few young players can match, and the U.S. Open was cashing in on that demand. The Eala Effect had become an economic force. And in New York, the city that never sleeps had taken notice. The scene at Flushing Meadows was unlike anything the U.S. Open had ever witnessed. Thousands of Filipino fans packed the stands, waving Philippine flags, chanting, "Ala, Eala," with an intensity that turned the hallowed grounds of Arthur Ashe Stadium into what felt like a homecoming celebration. Approximately 94,000 Filipinos call Queens home, and they had turned the U.S. Open into a celebration of Filipino pride. The chants, "Let's go, Alex," echoed through the venue, filling the air with a sound that had never been heard at a Grand Slam before. Security guards surrounded Eala as she made her way around the grounds, her immense popularity drawing crowds of fans eager to catch a glimpse of the Filipina sensation. The Eala Effect had transformed the tournament into something far bigger than tennis. It had become a movement. The devotion of this fan base was already legendary. At the Australian Open, huge queues of fans had formed at Melbourne Park, desperate to watch Eala on small outside courts. Tournament officials were forced to admit they had miscalculated the demand. In Dubai, Jessica Pagula could hear Eala's fans from her hotel room. In Washington, tournament chairman Mark Ein revealed that at least 80% of ticket inquiries were about Eala. Now, the phenomenon had crossed the border and arrived in New York with full force. Eala's connection to her fans is deeply personal. She carries the Philippine flag wherever she goes, both literally and symbolically. At Wimbledon, her visor bore the Filipino message, "Kapag lumago, hindi nahihinto." Once it grows, it cannot be stopped. In Miami, she told supporters, "Maraming salamat mga kababayan." On her Instagram, she posted a photo of herself wearing tsinelas, flip-flops, with the caption, "Tsinelas." These gestures matter because recognition is reciprocal. There are moments where it's heavy. There are moments where it's fun, Eala said when asked of how she deals with her fame and her packed tour schedule. But at the end of the day, I am also aware that it's a crazy experience, so I'm just trying to take it all in. The grassroots revolution is already underway. French sporting goods retailer Decathlon has seen sales of beginner rackets spike 66% in the Philippines in the past year. Philippine Tennis Association Executive Director Tanet Mendoza has witnessed the transformation firsthand. Apart from just bringing in people to watch, she's actually got people to play. The Philippine government is set to break ground on a new national tennis center north of Manila that will feature an academy and an 8,000-capacity stadium. The Filipino diaspora that has transformed tournaments from Washington to Toronto to New York has turned the U.S. Open into a celebration of national pride. Eala's presence has turned every tournament into a virtual homeland wherever Filipinos gather to watch her play. And in New York, the city that never sleeps has fallen for the Eala Effect. The 24,000 fans, the 3x ticket prices, the sold-out merchandise, the Arthur Ashe Stadium packed to capacity. What the tennis world witnessed in New York was not just a moment. It was the beginning of something far bigger. Eala's arrival in New York had already made history. She entered the U.S. Open as the highest-seeded Filipino player in Grand Slam history, projected at number 17. The withdrawal of World No. 15 Victoria Mboko had pushed her even higher, and she was expected to seize the opportunity to surpass her second-round finish from last year's U.S. Open. Legendary coach Rick Matchie, who once coached Serena and Venus Williams, had already weighed in on her prospects. The Philippines is home to many diverse bees, but none have the sting, and will create more of a New York buzz than the Philippine machine Eala will on Ashe Stadium. The mixed doubles debut with Felix Auger-Aliassime had already shown what the Eala Effect could do. Armstrong Stadium drew a packed crowd, with thousands of Filipino fans waving flags and chanting her name. Auger-Aliassime had acknowledged the phenomenon before stepping onto the court, and the reality had exceeded even his expectations. Now, the focus shifted to what mattered most, the singles campaign. Eala was scheduled to compete in the Stars of the Open exhibition on August 27 at Arthur Ashe Stadium, where she would face her close friend and world number 16 Eva Jovic. Then came the main draw on August 30. The madness was just beginning. The Filipino diaspora that had transformed Washington, Toronto, and Cincinnati had now arrived in New York with full force. The 94,000 Filipino New Yorkers in Queens had turned the U.S. Open into a celebration of national pride. The flags, the chants, the energy, all of it was a testament to what Eala represented. The Eala Effect wasn't just about tennis anymore. It was about a nation finding its voice, a diaspora finding its hero, and a sport finding a new generation of fans. As Matchie had predicted, the Philippine machine was ready to soar. She is locked, loaded, and ready to soar. She is climbing fast and reaching for more, he wrote. The 24,000 fans who had packed Armstrong Stadium were just the beginning. The 3x ticket prices were just the start. The Eala Effect had arrived in New York, and the city that never sleeps was ready for it. The Eala Effect has turned New York into tennis madness. 24,000 fans packed Armstrong Stadium for Eala's mixed doubles debut with Felix Auger-Aliassime. Ticket prices tripled, and her $42 Nike signature shirt sold out within minutes. Auger-Aliassime admitted she's carrying the crowd, and legendary coach Rick Matchie predicts she'll create a New York buzz on Arthur Ashe Stadium. Eala enters the U.S. Open as the highest-seeded Filipino player in Grand Slam history at number 17. The madness is just beginning. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We bring you the biggest stories in tennis, drama, and emotion every single week. Don't miss what happens next.